When video games started becoming mainstream in the 80s, they were no longer confined to arcades and living rooms. Handhelds have been part of the gaming scene as long as consoles have, from simple LCD-based portables to cartridge-based handhelds of the early 90s. And as gaming has progressed, handhelds have progressed with it, but they always fell a step behind to their console and PC counterparts. Think about the early 90s. 8 and 16-bit games brought some incredible deep gaming experience to living rooms around the world. And while handhelds of the time were a phenomenon with games like Tetris and Pokemon, plenty of those handheld games pale in comparison to their console counterparts. They were a compromise. Sure, you could play Castlevania or a Street Fighter on the go, but they didn't quite live up to the standard of the originals. In the late 90s and the early 2000s, we have entered the age of 3D graphics, allowing adventure, fantasy, sports, and other genres to explore the entire new dimension of the play. Games like Final Fantasy VII and Super Mario 64 redefined their genre with 3D graphics and the full motion video. While handhelds of the time stuck with 2D alternatives to keep gamers happy on the go, console and PC gaming kept driving forward, with adventure games and first-person shooter embracing cinematic level of polish, first in 720p, then 1080p, and finally ultra-sharp 4K. Handhelds always trail behind with compromises. Play the best games at home and settle for whatever you can get on the road. Today, some of the latest handhelds feel underpowered, still stuck at the low resolution like 720p with disappointing frame rates. We deserve a game changer in 2023, elevating handheld into Full HD 1080p gaming visuals. Say hello to ROG Ally, a new type of handheld that can play the same AAA games in 1080p. All your games on one device wherever you go. With ROG Ally, you are limited to one platform. If it works on Windows, you can run it on ROG Ally. You can play your favorite games from Steam, Epic, EA, Battle.net, and that means there's no need to buy your games again. Access your existing library anytime and pick up your cloud saves right where you left off. The ROG Ally even comes with 3 months Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for free. Xbox Game Pass offers different genres for you and your family. Hundreds of titles like Doom Eternal, Outer Wilds, and Hi-Fi Rush. You will always find something new to try. And when we say old games, we really mean it. Not sure whether a game is right for you? Wanted to try it before you download it? Launch it instantly with Xbox Cloud Gaming with no wait and no need to buy it upfront. You can even play your favorite mobile games on a larger screen, or relive your childhood with classic retro titles. If you can dream it, you can play it. We want to show you everything that makes this device so special. So we are going to talk about how we engineer its ergonomic design, run down all the specs, and show off the new software that ties it all together. Creating a handheld is no easy task. It's more personal and portable than a laptop, so every aspect has to be just right. It needs to meld with your hands, effortlessly contouring to your fingers and wrists. We want you to feel like it was just built for you, with every button and thumbstick carefully placed for a precise control. So we developed countless different form factors, repeatedly going back to the drawing boards to imagine, iterate, and refine the final body. Once we found the right general design, it was time to really get down to business. We meticulously honed each component of the body for a comfortable ergonomic feel that didn't sacrifice thickness or portability. Perfect control starts with easy access of your thumb, your most commanding fingers on the controller. We place all the buttons at the top half of the chassis using Xbox's tried and true asymmetrical stick layouts, so everything is within easy reach and feels familiar to gamers. We use a flat dome design for the face buttons to create more comfortable feel with distinct tactile feedback. We even place 2 extra pedals at the rear of the device, which can be mapped with in-game actions or use it as a barcode modifier. The way they naturally wrap behind the handle makes them easy to reach with your fingers, but they are strong enough that you won't accidentally press them during an intense gaming session. It's important that a handheld device rests comfortably in your hands, so you can play for hours. To ensure an ergonomic fit, the top of the chassis isn't completely flat. It has a subtle 2-degree slant to more comfortably contour to the angle of your wrist, while a 14-degree slant in the corner provides a perfect resting place for your palms. Of course, you don't want the device to slip out of your hand while gaming, so we added some texture surface to keep the device secure. The engraved lines of the front secure the Ally in your hands while giving it a sleek look. The triangle texture on the handle gives you the firm grip on the device at all times. And each button is designed to survive more than 10 million presses, showing our commitment to ROG quality. Finally, it was important to us that the Ally was lightweight. After all, you want to carry it with you everywhere you go. But it was a challenge to get to that point. Originally, our prototype weighed 680 grams. In order to reduce the weight, we slimmed the heatsink fin from 0.15 millimeters to 0.1 millimeters and hollow out portions of the top case. Then we switched to a lightweight aluminum to both display bezel and the battery brackets, strengthening rigidity and bringing the total weight down to 608 grams. Even with all the relentless efforts, it's still 8 grams heavier than our original goal. The ROG Ally is our smallest Windows device yet, but it's still as immersive as ever, thanks to painstakingly optimized visual and audio experience. We knew we wanted the Ally to provide a Full HD 1080p experience, so we went with the 7-inch touchscreen to showcase those sharper graphics. At 7 inches, the 1080p resolution provides an insane pixel density of 314 ppi, providing a sharper image to all your games, movies, and streams. At 120 Hz, motion is smooth with minimal latency. Plus, as a handheld device, you expect to be able to bring Ally with you anywhere you go, even outside. That's why we pushed the brightness to 500 nits for a true game anywhere experience, whether you are on the train, in the backyard, or at the beach. For the screen surface, we turned to Corning's best-in-class Gorilla Glass Victus, which is ultra-thin and scratch-resistant. So no matter where your Ally is headed, you know it will be protected from the bumps and knocks of everyday life, just like a handheld should be. Corning also coated screen with DXC, increasing surface hardness and minimize fingerprints. Most impressively, DXC reduces the intensity of specular reflection, meaning your gameplay stays crisp and punchy even in the presence of direct lights. And with dual front-facing speakers featuring smart amp technology and Dolby Atmos, you will feel surrounded by the lifelike audio every time you drop onto the battlefield. Now, we know you are dying to see what this machine can do, so let's talk about performance. We are always striving for the top-tier graphics at ROG, and this time, we had some crucial benchmarks we wanted to hit. So we worked together with AMD to create silicon for the ROG Ally, known as Ryzen Z1, and it is truly a special piece of silicon. The AMD Ryzen Z1 is built on a 4nm process, Zen 4 architecture with 6 cores, 12 threads, and the latest RDNA 3 graphics on board. This APU provides incredible performance with the best power efficiency available in a handheld or a console today. Plus, you get the full support of AMD's excellent upscaling technology like FSR and RSR. This Ryzen Z1 chip blows past other handheld on the market. 2017's leading handheld saw only 0.39 teraflops of graphic power, while another device from 2022 managed 1.6 teraflops. But ROG Ally blazed an entirely new trail of 2.8 teraflops of graphic performance. We also worked with AMD on an even more powerful silicon, the Ryzen Z1 Extreme, which is capable of whooping fast 8.6 teraflops, making ROG Ally closer to a home console than a handheld. The Z1 Extreme uses the same Zen 4 architecture with RDNA 3 graphics, but with 8 cores and 16 threads. Its insane power efficiency makes it perfect for handhelds allowing true AAA gaming on the go. So in a world without ROG Ally, handheld gaming was capable of 25 to 30 frames per second in AAA titles. The ROG Ally with Ryzen Z1 Extreme provides much smoother motion at 50 to 60 frames per second in those same titles. But with Full HD 1080p graphics, not 720p graphics you see on other handhelds. That means your game looks sharper with smoother motion. With performance like this, you can game anyway, anywhere, on your own, with friends, or in competitive scenario. When you are playing solo, you are giving yourself some me time with the latest story-driven single-player AAA games like Hogwarts Legacy, Cyberpunk 2077, or Death Stranding. With our purpose-built carrying case and Cetra wireless earbuds, you will be able to take a break from the story and pick it back up later on. The Ally can do more than just handheld play. Connect the Ally to your TV and monitors. Grab a couple of controllers and you have got a party. Take on your friends in FIFA 23, go head-to-head in Street Fighters, or dive into couch co-op with games like Overcooked and Moving Out. To make this easy, we offer an optional adapter that plugs into Ally's USB Type-C ports, charging the device and connecting an HDMI display at the same time. It even has a USB Type-A ports for other peripherals, hooking up a mouse and keyboard for productivity, 4K gaming, or competitive esports. In this setting, every bit of performance counts, so we made ROG Ally compatible with Extreme Mobile suite of external GPUs. Dock your Ally at your desk and enjoy the power of NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4090 laptop GPU for top-tier performance with extra ports for keyboard, mouse, monitor, Ethernet, and more. Incredible performance isn't just about graphics. The ROG Ally's PCIe Express 4.0 SSD provides blistering data transfer speeds. With this super fast drive, the Ally boots up instantly and game launches quickly to get you right into the action. If you need more storage, the Ally's UHS-2 micro SD cards allows you to expand your game libraries as much as you want without compromising those load times. The Ally LPDDR5 6400 memory keeps Ryzen APU fed with data at the moment's notice, letting Ryzen Z1 Extreme puts its best foot forwards. And with the latest Wi-Fi 6E technology on board, you will see more consistent download speeds, more reliable cloud gaming, and uninterrupted video streaming at 1080p. Just like ROG laptops, we give you complete control over this performance with our turbo, performance, and silent modes. You can adjust TGP on fly to give yourself more game time, with up to 2 hours available from performance modes in AAA games. Turn it down to silent modes for cloud gaming and video consumption, and your battery will last even longer, giving you up to 6.8 hours of entertainment on your ROG Ally, even when you are away from the wall outlets. Now let's talk about the secret sauce, ROG Intelligent Cooling. Every device we build needs to deliver maximum performance while keeping it cool and quiet. We need a different cooling paradigm to build ROG Ally. Since the hardware sits behind the screen, we have already learned how to master this type of cooling thanks to our experience with ROG Mothership and Flow Z13. The result is something we call our zero gravity thermal system, which, thanks to its quiet performance, also provides zero distraction from what's truly important, your games. We call it zero gravity because it's designed to be used in any orientation. Sitting upright in a chair, lying down in your bed, or however else you game. With ROG Ally, you can do it all with no drop in performance. To draw heat away from crucial components, we use a special kind of heat pipe, providing extra friction to increase the capillary force in the pipe, keeping gravity from interfering with the fluid inside. We also put fluid bearing in the fans, which is quieter, more durable, and create less friction when held in different type of orientations. The Ally's heatsink uses ultra-thin fins, as slim as 0.1 millimeters, which increases the total surface area by 10% for improved heat dissipation. And with dust filters on the intake vents, the inside of your device will stay cleaner and cooler. While typical handhelds uses a single fan, we knew that dual fan solution was going to provide more efficient cooling with less noise. On the left here is an ROG ALLY prototype with a single fan, while the right shows the new dual fan system, keeping heat and noise to a minimum. Never settle for anything less than ROG intelligent cooling. Finally, we would like to talk about our custom software that pushes the ALLY to the next level. We have been developing Armoury Crate for a long time, not just ROG desktop and laptops, but even the ROG phones. With ROG ALLY, we are proud to introduce Armoury Crate SE, a special edition of Armoury Crate designed to help you play all your games on one device. We gamers are rarely satisfied with just one or two games. We have massive libraries, spanning multiple publishers and platforms. This freedom of choice is amazing, but it does split up your collection across multiple launchers. With Armoury Crate SE, we want to give you one place for all your games. The program will scan your system for installed titles and provide shortcuts to each one of them. Armoury Crate SE also provides 3 different control schemes. You can use standard gamepad modes, recognized by many games, touch control for Windows, and you can map the ROG ALLY's button to mouse and keyboard for the games that support those inputs. And when you aren't gaming, you can use the thumbstick to navigate Windows desktop with a traditional cursor. You can remap buttons game by game to create truly customized experience that travel with you. Almost every button on ALLY is remappable. Just open the profile for the games you want to customize and select the button you want to remap. Each button can have 2 functions mapped to it, with secondary function accessible with the paddles on the back of the device. It's not just buttons. You can customize the dead zone and range of your joystick, giving you more precision when you aim. If you want to set the dead zone larger to avoid accidental missteps, you can do that. The same goes to the buttons on the top. The trigger range is fully adjustable Armoury Crate. So if you want a weapon with a hair trigger for firing at moments of notice, it's all in your control. Customized haptic feedback built into the handles allow for incredible immersion, pulling you right into the action with whatever intensity you choose. We even included Aura Sync RGB around both thumbsticks, allowing you to choose your favorite lighting pattern for a unique style, or sync the lighting with supported titles to draw you into the game world. If you want to change settings in mid-game, you can press a single button to have a full control center at your fingertip. Adjust your performance modes, control scheme, lighting, and so much more with just a few taps. Access to popular game store, ROG Elite rewards, and other crucial settings like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. You can even record your game footage, then organize your library of screenshots and game recordings from one central location. Or edit videos and share them to the social media instantly. Thanks to Windows 11, you can do anything, game, stream, or even work from this one ultra-portable device. With Windows Hello, you can log into ROG ALLY instantly with a fingerprint sensor built into the power button. So you don't have to type in long passwords every time. And with Microsoft's built-in security features, you are protected against all sorts of cyber threats. Windows Defender provides up-to-date antivirus protection, and parental control puts fans around your kids' screen time and web safety. We are incredibly proud of what we have accomplished with ROG ALLY. Incredible performance, quiet operation, and a huge selection of games from multiple platforms. We are confident it will be your next favorite handheld. We know you are all excited to get your hands on this revolutionary device as soon as possible. And you want to know the price? We are excited to announce that ROG ALLY with a Ryzen Z1 with 512GB of storage will be coming soon to Best Buy for only $599. It will ship in Q3. The ROG ALLY with Ryzen Z1 Extreme comes with 512GB of storage will be available for $699 at Best Buy in June. Both models comes with 3 months of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for free, making this an even better deal. Check out Best Buy to pre-order this device today, and team up with your ally as soon as possible. If you want to make an absolute most of your ROG Ally, it is compatible with every model of XG Mobile. We currently offer two options: GC32 with AMD Radeon RX 6850M XT for only $799, and GC33 with NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4090 laptop GPU for $1,999. And stick around, because we will be joined by Microsoft and AMD in just a few moments to talk more about this incredible new device. Come on, let's go with me.
You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our post-event discussion here on the ROG Ally, the new latest gaming Windows-based handheld from ROG. Thank you for joining me here. We've got Sean from Asus, Rowan from Xbox, and Frank from AMD. And the first question I think everyone's wondering is, can the Ally handle crisis?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I sure hope so. This thing is a beast. We're going to talk all about it. And Sean, first and foremost, what were the biggest challenges with creating a device like this?
Yeah, so when we go through the survey with our focus group, the number one thing that they wanted is a balanced weight distributed handheld devices. And the targeted weight was 600 grams because the current handheld devices in the market today are being too heavy. It's not something that they can engage for a very long period of time. So their game time, their fun time kind of got cut down because it's not comfortable. So when we first thought about the design target for ROG Ally, was really thinking about a device that can get into gamers' hands for hours of fun time. So weight was our number one thing to overcome. And I kind of covered through how we took our engineering excellence to drive the weights down. And then the second thing is about navigation. The navigation on the Ally, thinking about intuitive type of navigation experience with customers, navigating through controllers, navigating through keyboard and mouse and touch screen. And that's where it led to the end. We ended up implementing two ECs together, being able to run touchscreen, keyboard, mouse, and the game controllers all on the same device in parallel. So those are the two things that we feel like was very proud of that what we have achieved.
Makes sense. Okay, so a lot of these devices run Linux or Android, but in this case, you chose Windows. Why
Windows,
is that?
Of course.
Let's talk about that.
Say more.
Yeah. So let's talk about Android first. Android games. Currently, we have a product called ROG Phone. It's a product that we launched last month, and that serviced the Android market. But for gamers like myself, in the last 5 to 10 years, I have a collection of games in different platforms. I have games in Steam, I have games in Epic, I have games in other platforms. When I think about a device that I would use for myself, I wanted to make sure the games that I already own can be played on this new handheld device. And there's no brainer. Windows is the most inclusive system for all the games. Everything that I own plays on Windows, right? And now there's Game Pass available for me to discover new games. And on the other side, as a hardware manufacturer, having the latest hardware driver supports in Windows is a huge thing for me. It's super convenient for hardware manufacturers to feel comfortable that the new technology, the new high-speed Wi-Fi, high-speed PCIe, will be supported in Windows, and that's no-brainer. Windows is the choice to go.
Well, I've been using this for a little bit, and Windows does perform beautifully in this form factor. Let's talk about some of those enhancements gamers can expect with this experience from Windows.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's great certainly to hear Sean talk about his experiences. And I think, you can certainly count on the power of the PC gaming community to kind of really push the bar. In terms of things we've been hearing and what we sort of see, familiarity is huge. Like, you can pick up this device and you instantly know how to use it. You don't have to figure out how to navigate and get things connected. You don't need to figure out how to pair controllers and other devices to it. You don't have to figure out where you can go find your apps. Like, all of those things are just the same thing that you are used to from the history of how you've been using the PC products before. Innovation, I think, is another really big push that we get a lot. I mean, tons of work goes into actually tailoring and optimizing the silicon with the underlying operating system to really make sure that you are getting the best performance and efficiency out of the experience. But I also look at things that we do too, like Auto HDR is a great example. You know, you have this huge catalog and history of games, and you love those games, and they now actually play better on new hardware because we can actually light up those colors. And this is all done without the developers having to touch anything in the code base from the games that they produced, you know, 5-10 years ago. And then I might just echo the openness. Like, to me, I think it's incredible that you can open this up and you have your Xbox app and all of your games and experiences there. You also have, you know, your Steam store, you've got your Riot services store. Yeah. So to me, the idea that we are putting the player at the center and we are acknowledging the fact that the player plays across a ton of different places in different form factors, I mean, that to me is great, and it's extensible. You know, I think Asus has done some great things. If you look at some of their command center investments, you look at the rest of the sort of applications that they put in there, it really lights up.
Game Pass is absolutely a huge part of the equation. How do you think gamers will make the most out of this service?
Yeah, absolutely. So Game Pass for us is, you know, it is the way that we are putting a whole collection of hundreds of titles kind of in the hands of players. It's integrated into the Windows experience with an application through the Xbox app. And to me, it's this collection not only of what we produce with Xbox Game Studios, so first party, but you also have this huge collection of third party games that are accessible. And we've put a lot of energy into those partnerships. And so with Game Pass, you also get to be, you know, your EA Play membership. You have a bunch of membership-only light-up experiences with Riot, like League of Legends are all kind of great examples of that. So to me, it's this blend of what you're really familiar with. You know, you can go pick up the device and instantly play Forza Horizon 5, but then you get to discover all kinds of things that you wouldn't have otherwise maybe even thought about trying to play. You know, Sean and I were talking before we started this recording, and he was talking about how excited he was because he found Hi-Fi Rush. And he was like, man, this game is incredible. And it only like got exposure and kind of became this big thing, I think, partly because Game Pass gives you an opportunity to explore in a way that you wouldn't otherwise have had.
Never would found it if the Game Pass wasn't there.
Yeah.
You know, so thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the hardware side of things, Frank. RDNA 3, Zen 4, massive generational leap every single time. How do you guys do it?
Well, thankfully, we've been building tens of millions, hundreds of millions of gaming devices now for over a decade. So Xboxes, PlayStations, desktop computers, laptop gaming computers, and so many other devices. And you know, we kind of know what we're doing, thankfully. And we're really proud of RDNA 3, which is our latest graphics architecture that we just announced it in November. And here it is already in this device. And what's really fascinating about RDNA 3 is it's 50% more performance per watt. That's 50% more efficiency than just the prior generation. And it's perfect for a device like this. The timing of the architecture of RDNA 3 and what the goals were for the ROG team with this device couldn't have lined up at a better time, because it's really that engineering excellence and everything we're doing with that architecture and that silicon and the process technology behind it and everything coming together at the perfect moment to enable us to get the kind of gaming experience we're delivering with this device, which is full high definition gaming in some of the most popular, immersive PC games at over 60 frames per second. That's never been accomplished before in a type of device like this. So it's really just a phenomenal accomplishment, because you have to deliver performance and efficiency. And that's what makes it such a huge challenge that only RDNA 3 is able to enable.
Can you talk at all about what led to the creation of the Z1 chip?
Well, you know, the team at ROG and Sean especially always like to give us some very ambitious challenges.
Thanks for accepting the challenge.
And this was nothing less than a very ambitious challenge, as usual. But I think the team at Asus and ROG know that it's really our engineering excellence that enables us to be able to respond with an answer to the challenges that they bring us. And when they came to us and said, you know, these are the goals and these are the ambitions that we have with the Ally, we looked at our entire portfolio of technologies, the timing of the new technologies like Zen 4 and RDNA 3, and what the mission was for this type of a device. And our engineers went back and they started designing and defining this product specifically for this mission. And the mission is, it's pretty ambitious, because it's not just how do you deliver the performance and the efficiency to be able to play games for hours on end in this highly mobile form factor? But Sean and the team wanted to also scale it to being able to be a desktop replacement type of solution as well with the XG Mobile. So you can attach the XG Mobile and like ultra boost your graphics capability even higher than what's built into this. So the scalability of that challenge was really something that our engineers were really excited about, and that ultimately is what led to us defining this unique product here for this.
Can you talk at all about, overcoming the challenges of developing this really tight power envelope of the 30 watts?
Yeah, it is a big challenge. Thankfully, we've been building highly efficient and highly performant APUs now for over 5 years. If you think about what gaming laptops looked like and 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, they were pretty thick in their form factor, and they could be 30 millimeters, weigh 6, 7 pounds. And what we started to do at AMD is really change the game around what kind of performance we can deliver in thinner form factors and really helping make gaming laptops more mobile. And we've done some amazing work together with products like the G14, which is
beautiful product.
It's my favorite product right now. It's what I carry with me everywhere I go. And if you look at that product, it's a 14-inch laptop at an incredible form factor, an incredible size and weight, and the performance is just amazing in that. And it's thanks to those challenges and that work that we've been doing together for the last 5, 6 years that has enabled us to gain the experience to take on this next challenge, this next evolution in that challenge. But look, it's our Zen architecture. Our Zen architecture has really disrupted the market in what kind of performance is possible in these lower watt packages, these lower watt TDPs. We've been able to deliver it now in 45 watts, 35 watts, and even lower, 15 watts. And with this challenge in 30 watts and the kind of performance that we're delivering here. And then you pair that with our RDNA 3 architecture, which again is cutting edge, just announced in November of 2022. And we've been uniquely able to combine those two things into one chip like no other company's been able to do before. To take on the challenge of this product. And I think it's really a really interesting inflection point in our industry, because it's the first time that we're seeing that kind of performance in a package like this that can deliver the kind of gaming experiences across the entire Game Pass portfolio of 720p, 1080p, 60 frames per second. That's just been unheard of up to now.
That power efficiency makes the Ally an insanely good device for cloud gaming as well as native gaming. But when we talk about Xbox cloud gaming, where do you see, a device like the Ally driving that forward?
Yeah, I think it's interesting to think about who is the customer of this going to be. And if you think about that, it's pretty fascinating, because to me, this is like the ultimate mobile accessory for somebody who is a PC gamer. And you have this huge catalog of games, and PC Game Pass certainly helps you with that. But with Game Pass Ultimate, which, Asus is actually, kudos to them, put 3 months of PC Game Pass free, integrated into the Ally device purchase. So Game Pass Ultimate, you now actually unlock a bunch of console games. And so now you can actually, as a console player, this is also my ultimate mobile accessory. And so I can actually now use this to take all of the games I love with me on the go. And so now you have not only the PC customer having these mobile experiences, you have console customers having these mobile experiences. So to me, that's really unique. Like, I get pretty excited about the idea that the device is now finally catching up to the content. Like, for a while, we've seen the same games in both of these places, and now finally you actually have a single device that's capable of kind of lighting up both of those experiences and bringing some of those player communities together.
What I love about Game Pass too is how you have the cloud option or the local install option as well. So, maybe you're kind of rushing to class, or you're on a short subway trip or short bus trip or something. You only have 20, 30 minutes or something. You have Wi-Fi. You can experience something new. You can discover something new without having to wait to download and install and make the investment in all that time and space. And I think that's really unique about Game Pass, and really unique about what this device offers.
You just get more time to try out different games. That's through cloud, right? So a huge benefit for me.
And there's hundreds
native,
of games.
native and cloud, like that.
Yeah.
That's a really compelling combination.
It's not just time too, it's also accessibility.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Incredible
Absolutely.
accessibility towards games.
And there's a difference in battery life, I think you'll see, right? If you have a good internet connection and you can play the games on the cloud, you're going to get longer battery life because there's less burden on the product when it's doing that.
Even the silicon is efficient.
Yeah, and the silicon's very efficient, but obviously processing that at a data center and at a server is going to be, and just sending down the already processed feed for decompression is going to be a lot more efficient than rendering it locally on the device. But that flexibility, it's I think the first device of its kind to ever have that type of flexibility, and that's really, really compelling. It's just a really great value proposition.
So do you see continued use of APUs in this form factor, like long term, and like what do you think the evolution is going to be in this?
It's interesting because AMD acquired ATI, a graphics company, over a decade ago, and it was really the vision was to be able to make APUs, high performance and highly capable APUs. And that's led to us being able to do that in ultra-thin laptops, like we talked about earlier. But I think this device really demonstrates the realization of that vision from over a decade ago, where it's about being able to do what's never been done before and enabling form factors and use cases that have never been possible before in our industry. And here we are. It's a very proud moment for our company because it really helps to rationalize to folks like that original vision and opportunity that we saw in acquiring that company, making that investment, bringing the companies together, bringing the intellectual property portfolios together. That has led to us developing some of the most amazing gaming consoles that are out there today in the market, including with our friends at Microsoft. And now this is like the next proof point of what's possible from that original vision.
Sean, we talked a lot about, gaming natively, gaming on cloud, and gaming on the go, but you guys also included the option to connect the XG Mobile to this device.
Right.
What led you guys to want to do that?
Yeah, so XG Mobile was a product that we developed for gamers like us. So XG Mobile was first introduced 3 years ago, and before XG Mobile, all the external graphics are like desktop type of graphics cards. When you need to power the desktop graphics card externally, you need an enclosure plus a heavy power supply, right? You need 400 watts of power supply just to power the graphics card. If you want to have external graphics card to take with you, it needs to be portable. So it never made sense for us. And then when you think about the bandwidth limitations, back then was Thunderbolt, right? You don't get the full power that the performance was able to pump out of the graphics card. We wanted to make a better product, and that's where XG Mobile was introduced with the ROG Flow series. We have the masculine gaming laptops that has all the power you need, but we also have thin and light convertible 2-in-1 gaming laptops like the ROG Flow and ROG Zephyrs. For the graphics that you only needed when you wanted it, then XG Mobile was a perfect use case. Now, we started ROG Ally about 5 years ago, and we always wanted to think about the expansion of ROG Ally. So when XG Mobile was becoming a product with Flow, we wanted to be a device that you can share in the family. So maybe in the family you have people who owns ROG laptops as well as ROG handheld like Ally, and you can share one XG Mobile. So it's very cost efficient. XG Mobile today has a Radeon graphics card, Radeon 6850M XT, and it also has the most powerful 4090 as well. So it offers that flexibility to the user when you need to upgrade it, when you need it on the road. That's something that's truly portable.
When we look at the modern ecosystem in gaming, gamers have more and more control of what kind of settings they can manipulate to maximize the performance of their game. What kind of settings has AMD built into this device to enhance that experience?
Well, some of the settings you won't see because of our long work with game developers on building console games to be optimized on AMD hardware, PC games to be optimized on AMD hardware. Our tools, our APIs, our SDKs, our engagement with the game developers goes deep into the game developers. They're developing, they're optimizing, they're testing, they're validating on Ryzen, Radeon, and AMD technology. But over and above that, we have several software tools that the gamers themselves can use to get more performance or better image quality out of their gaming experience, depending on what their needs are and what they're trying to ultimately accomplish. One of those really cool tools that we call Radeon Super Resolution, or RSR for short. And what RSR does is it allows you, if you're not maybe getting the frames per second that you want out of a game. Maybe you put something really challenging on this device, or a game 2, 3, 4 years from now that can be a little bit more challenging. You can turn on RSR and it'll upscale your game to a higher resolution from, let's say, 720p. It'll upscale it to like 1080p, full high definition. And to the game and to the processor, it's running that game at a lower resolution at 720p, but we are upscaling it in the rendering path to 1080p. So you see a 1080p visual experience, but the processor thinks it's rendering at 720. It actually is natively rendering at 720p. So you're getting about 25, in some cases 50% more performance out of the system. So if you're on the edge there, you can't get that 60 FPS. Asus has developed a really cool command center interface where you just press a button, menu comes out, you turn on RSR, and you can get that huge performance boost out of the game just by pressing one button, basically.
Let's talk a little bit about the thought process of creating, this Armory Crate and Command Center and all the different shortcuts and tools that these gamers will have with the Ally.
Yeah, so we want the optimization to be easily accessible. Like ISR, for example, frame rates and resolutions are eye candies for gamers like us. It shouldn't be a process that you need to go into the control center and kind of launch it. It should be a shortcut. You just bring it out, launch it. Not only that, the command center has a bunch of new features like you can monitor your FPS, you can do a FPS limiter. There's a bunch of optimization that you can add to the command center. This is all on a gaming experience. You don't really want to go through different settings. It just gives you one simple menu and make it easier for a gamer.
Now, Rowan, this definitely feels like a turning point for handheld gaming. Where do you see both Windows and Xbox going from here?
Yeah, like I said, I really think this is going to appeal to both a console customer and a PC customer. But I'm also excited about how many people think about this now as their entry actually into PC gaming. I think it's certainly more approachable. Like, I've got kids, like, conversations in my house are whether they get to use it in the back seat when we're driving places, So for me, I actually think this is kind of an interesting step in a really creative way where you still get this full fidelity experience. And then, you can dock this thing and have your big screen TV experience. You can have your desktop experience if that's what you need. So to me, there's a lot of flexibility, and I can't predict where it's going to go, but I'm excited about the appeal that I think it has both to a PC player, a console player, and actually as just a new to gaming customer.
And what's really, I think the flexibility and the openness can't be understated, because you can do anything and everything you can do on your Windows PC today on this device. That's the magic of having Windows on it. So if you like using Discord, for example, just fire up Discord and use it with your friends.
Yeah.
If, hey, you know what, you got to do a little bit of homework, maybe this is the only device that you brought with you, get a keyboard, mouse, hook it up to a TV, and now you can do a little bit of work, homework on it if you need to.
Kind of going back to just like the community side of things, there really has always been a PC community and a console community. And in the recent years, we've gotten crossplay where those communities have started to mingle and interact with each other more and more and more. But this really feels like it's fully bridged the gap and blurred that line. So what do you think the future looks like in that space?
I think it's like this, it really is this magical combination, I think, of what Asus has developed in the actual form factor itself, the silicon that's powering this to give you that experience, but then also like Windows plus Game Pass. Like, some of the stats that we have on Game Pass are pretty interesting. We're seeing 20% growth actually of Game Pass customers who are using the service across 3 or more devices. So it just starts, it just starts to show, I think, how flexible people are, and like the fact that they are opening up and no longer locked into one specific form factor. And I think the Ally is going to accelerate that. The other thing is what does this actually mean for developers too? I think that the engagement that we're actually now seeing, like on Game Pass, our customers basically have said they're now playing 30% new genres. They're playing 40% more games. And 90% of them have basically said they're playing a title that if it wasn't for Game Pass, like Q Hi-Fi Rush, I never would have actually played that game. So to me, there's this direct correlation to the service of having 100, hundreds of games at your fingertips and increasing your engagement. And so for a developer, now they actually have a way to get in front of more players.
And discoverability is one of the biggest challenges when it comes to games.
Yep.
So you guys cater all this.
Right. You cater all of that. And honestly, like developers, as much as their primary job is to deliver this delightful experience, they do have a business to run.
Yeah.
And so this idea that now there's minutes in the day that previously you wouldn't have been able to get exposure to because you were either locked to your desk or you were locked to your couch, now you have more minutes. Like you have more minutes that you can capture. So both the share of time and then hopefully the share of wallet, I think that becomes really compelling to a developer because it both gets more people playing and hopefully also helps them make more money in the process.
Yeah, I really feel like this kind of performance on a handheld seemed like a pipe dream not too far long ago. Where do you see the future of the handheld space going?
Well, I think it's the ROG Ally is an inflection point for the industry and for gamers around the world. What our teams, and we just get to be here representatives of the incredible teams that around the world work for us, and we're able to make this possible. But what those teams have been able to accomplish between the performance, the efficiency, the ergonomics, the size, the weight, the openness, the compatibility, everything that we've talked about here today, it's remarkable. And it really proves how far technology has come for gamers. Like this is all developed for gamers, right? Like Game Pass and Microsoft's effort and ROG and AMD coming together. This wasn't taking off-the-shelf components and like slapping them together. This was done for gamers for the purpose of leading a revolution in how gamers game and how they think about buying devices and how they think about taking their gaming with them and gaming being a bigger part of their life for them. So I think we're going to see this be a category that is going to expand in products and sizes and shapes and colors and price points and features and all these different things. And this is going to be a springboard for a bunch of innovation out there and a bunch of inspiration in the industry. And I think ultimately gamers are going to really gravitate to this type of a device because, I mean, we've been selling hundreds of millions of gaming laptops now for 2 decades, nearly. And gaming laptops are awesome and I love them, right? But there's always been this limitation of the battery life hasn't been great on them, or where can you actually use it in a mobile environment? Plane seats have gotten smaller as over time, over those 20 years as well. But this is finally a device that, we can actually play everywhere and anywhere, and it's easy to carry with you, and it's truly putting thousands of games in your pocket with you anywhere you want to go. You're no longer confined by the size of your storage device because you got the cloud capability of Game Pass, which is you get into instant games thanks to that capability. We have a technology called AMD Link. So if there's a game that you have on your AMD-powered desktop at home, for example, and maybe it's not a Game Pass game, but you want to play it instantly, you can connect with our technology to your desktop at home and play that game as if your desktop was a server, for example. So there's all these innovations that have been developed over the years, all this technology, and it's just come together now into this device that takes advantage of all of it. And I think people are going to really start to recognize and realize just what's possible with all the innovation and technology and everything that's finally come together into this just incredible experience.
John, I kind of have the same question for you. Where do you see, ROG gaming going in the future, and how is the Ally going to help drive that forward?
Gaming is one of the most engaged entertainment, and gaming is education as well. When I grew up, I learned history through Age of Empires.
Yep.
And then my kids create their own worlds in Minecraft. And gaming is art. It's hyper-realistic graphics that kind of plug you into the epic stories of the games. With ROG, we want more time for people to game. That's why we have desktops, we have laptops, we make components for you to build your own desktops. We have ROG phones. Now we have a gaming handheld, which make PC games mobile, right? So, the scenario of playing games at the back seats in the air are now possible. And with all this time that gamers can have access to their beloved PC gaming contents, we also hope the publishers to think about, the hard work they actually put into creating these games will be enjoyed, right? And we hope they think about, all these PC games is no longer confined to a laptop, desktop type of scenario, is now on the go.
Maybe I'll build on that a little bit because, I will say for sure, it's been pushing us on the platform side of things. how do we think about the idea of you start on your PC and then you just want to take this with you and you want to pick up where you left off and you want to be immediately ready to go. Like console has some of those capabilities with Quick Resume today. How do we think about integrating this into the Windows platform? How do we think about really working with developers and publishers, not just our own, but also more broadly with third party? And I feel like now we can drive more of that commitment to quick save, to crossplay, and really having that be something that is truly delightful as you navigate across the breadth of devices you'll have. And the Ally, I think, is making us think differently about some of those experiences.
Yeah, you're also, the other thing to consider is, the most popular handheld gaming device that's sold out there today, and the ones that sells in tens of millions of units, that device has pretty much evolved very slightly over time. And it has 1/20th the amount of processing power that the ROG Ally has in it.
A very limited catalog of games.
A very limited catalog of games. There's no guarantee that that catalog of games will be forward compatible. It certainly wasn't backwards compatible before that device existed. So when I say this is an inflection point and this is changing the game, no pun intended, just think about what everyone loves about PC and console gaming today is coming together into this. You're gonna see technology transitions that are gonna be more frequent. You're gonna have the guarantee that it's gonna work with the library of Windows games that are out there, not just in the past, not just today, but also in the future. It's a game changer all around.
Man, I am excited for that future to happen. And well, I just want to thank you all so much for joining us here today. I mean, this has been extremely insightful, super cool to everyone that joined to watch the ROG Ally launch event. It is for pre-order right now, and it'll be available on June 13th.
June 13th.
So we are really close.
Yes.
Thank you all again. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
What is up, everyone? Hello and welcome to ROG Pulse for our continued coverage of the ROG Ally. We've got them. We've got them here. We're going to be showing them off and diving into all the details. Yes, we've just revealed all the details, but we're going to go in again in case you missed it. Woodson, what do you think?
We can talk a little bit about our own experience too, right? Like,
yeah,
we've revealed all the specs, but you and I have been gaming on this for a while, and we can talk a little bit about what it's been like to actually use it, because it is amazing. So real quick, guys, today it's going to be kind of a quick show. If you guys are unfamiliar with ROG Pulse, this is our weekly show where we talk about all things tech and gaming. We usually air on Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. So give us a follow. Come back, because next week we will be doing a full Q&A episode where we just talk about all things Ally. Any of the questions you guys have, you can shoot them at us. We're not really going to be answering questions today, but next week, any and all questions, you can join our Discord and ask us questions there, and we'll bring them over to the show there as well.
Yeah, so with all the information out there now, you guys have a full week to kind of figure out exactly what you're curious about, and we'll answer all of that a week from now. But this is, it's a Windows gaming handheld where you can play literally anything on it. It's a powerful device, so we're talking about native gaming experience being, top-notch AAA games, Steam, Epic, EA, GOG, Game Pass, Battle.net. You think of the platform, you can just install it because it's Windows.
It's funny how many people have asked, like, oh, is there going to be like a verified program, or like what is it like a cut down? Like, it's not cut down version of Windows. It's just Windows 11. If it runs on Windows, it'll run on the Ally. That's how easy it is. Really, really awesome. And something that we've seen on some handhelds, but not a lot of them. We have a lot of handhelds out there that are just streaming, or they're just Android, or they're just Linux. This is everything. And not just that, but it's powerful enough to actually run everything, right? There are some Windows handhelds out there that can run any game, but not necessarily at a great frame rate or a great resolution. This is like true AAA gaming in the palm of your hand, and it is so very exciting. We've got two models, the Ryzen Z1 model, which is available for $599, and the Ryzen Z1 Extreme model, which is available for $699. Jake and I have been using the Extreme model for a few weeks, and if you're doing AAA gaming, I'll tell you right now, like that's, I think, the one you want. That's going to get you the most performance. That Z1 model is still going to be great if you are, especially if you're playing a lot more like indie and retro games or things like that, or you're only dabbling in AAA and you're on a bit more of a budget. That Z1 model is still going to be great, but the Z1 Extreme is truly phenomenal for sure.
So valuable.
So, yep, yeah, exactly. So, Jake, you've got a camera to show this baby off, don't you?
We do. And here it is in all its glory,
yes.
the Ally, the Z1 Extreme. These are, in fact, pre-production models. Even has a little sticker on the back saying, warning, this is a pre-production model.
That sticker makes me feel exclusive, like makes me feel
right?
special. I like the sticker.
And, you know, there's no real changes to point out with that and the actual live model. These are just, you know, slightly earlier. They may have outdated
There are very
software
small
on
physical differences. The pre-production models has a slightly different logo here for the control center button,
right?
And the XG Mobile port is a little different as well, but otherwise they're basically the same.
Well, we can talk about
on the
ports
outside
on the device. We've got the aux jack, we've got the
Headphone
micro
jack.
SD, and then you have the XG Mobile, which includes a USB Type-C. So this is your charge port. This is your one USB port on the device. And if you wanted to connect it to the XG Mobile, what do we got for the current XG Mobile versions?
We have two XG Mobiles available right now, as Sean mentioned in that performance. We've got one with an NVIDIA RTX 4090 laptop GPU that's available for $19.99. That just came out, so you may have to check your local retailers to see if it's available in your region yet. And we also have a model that uses a Radeon RX 6850M XT, and that's available for $799, which is actually an incredible deal for that level of performance. You can plug that in here. Not only does it give you that external GPU, but you get a ton of extra I/O like Ethernet, a bunch of USB ports, regular size SD card, HDMI, and display port. So you can then hook it up to like a desktop setup, right? And have a mouse, keyboard, be playing things with, you know, really high level graphics, or you can pop it onto a TV and like hook up some wireless controllers and play with your friends. It can become any PC you want.
And it's good to clarify that you don't need the XG Mobile if you wanted to use it on your TV.
Yeah.
There's just other adapters you could use just to connect it. But the XG Mobile is when you really want to power up the device, you know, give it all that additional power and performance of up to a 4090, which is great. And there are older versions, like I've got the 3080 XG Mobile, and that still makes this
3080
thing
is solid
beast.
too.
Yeah, it's great.
Absolutely.
So, plus minus, and then you've got the power button, which has single sign-on.
That's volume. Volume is the name of that button, Jake.
What did I say?
Plus minus.
Oh, man. I'm just on autopilot. It's fine. And then we have a single sign-on with a fingerprint reader on the power button, which is really
because
convenient.
typing in your password on a touch screen is dumb.
It is.
Fingerprint is the future. So I feel like I need to specifically call out the micro SD card slot here. This is really cool because it is a UHS 2 micro SD card slot, and if you pop a high-speed micro SD card in there, you can really expand the space on the device without really sacrificing load times. Like the load times on that micro SD card slot are within 4% or something of the built-in SSD. So you can just load up on games. You don't have to worry about opening the device and upgrading it and things like that. If you don't want to, just pop in a micro SD and go.
That being said, if you did want to swap out the M.2, you can. It's absolutely accessible.
It is not soldered in. You can open it up and pop it out.
Yep.
It uses the really small SSDs. I don't remember the name now, but the super small form factor ones.
So you've got options, and options are good. But this is easy expansion. That's really little to no sacrifice in terms of load times and just speed. That's huge.
Yep.
So we got
the
triggers. Yeah, we've got the bumpers and the triggers. They feel really nice. Have a nice little texture to them. The vents on the top here also just, that's where all the hot air is being
I feel like we got to call out the vents specifically because they talked about the cooling in this presentation, right? And again, like this episode of Pulse, I want to be able to talk about like what it's actually like to use. It is so much quieter than I expected. It is, the more compact you make a device, the tougher cooling becomes. But dude, this thing, it does not get super hot and it stays really quiet, even
Really
in turbo
quiet.
mode.
No, it is.
I feel like we need to rename silent mode because turbo mode is already pretty silent.
I feel like most laptops, if not all laptops, make more noise than this device. It is
Straight up
insane at how silent this device is.
They did an incredible job with the cooling on this. Not only that, then the speakers are also louder than I expected.
Yeah.
Because you expect like speakers that small to, sometimes they can be kind of tinny or not super like full bodied. Dude, those speakers sound great.
Full
not
body
that
is
like
the
my
correct
wife
word.
wants me like turning up the volume while I'm playing the Ally in bed next to her, but it is on occasions where you are doing that. It's awesome. They've got our Dolby Atmos license built into the device, so you can get your Dolby Atmos spatial sound from the speakers or from your headphones, which is really cool. We talked about that on a previous episode. Really nice as well.
We are. This is a gaming device, yes, but it is again full Windows. So for movies, you name it, Netflix, HBO, whatever you want to do, streaming or just downloading movies straight to your device. You can
download the Netflix app through Windows 10, and then you can download movies for the plane.
Yeah.
It's a bigger screen than your phone.
Movies sound awesome on this. Like, these speakers or, Bluetooth, or you just use the headphone jack. So it really doesn't have any limitations like some of the other handheld gaming devices. Like, I'm not going to call out any devices in particular, but a lot of app support just isn't there. Whereas here you've just got obviously the browser version of everything, and then many of the apps do exist on Windows as well.
Yep. And while we're showing this off, I have to shout out one of my favorite parts of the device, which is the asymmetrical stick layout, the kind of Xbox style stick and D-pad button layout. Like, that's my favorite. It's so comfortable. And then the way that like, not just the button layout, the way that all the buttons are on the top, but these angles on the edge are like perfect. This thing rests in your hand so nicely. I love the way it feels, particularly when you're like actually like kicking back and it kind of sinks in. Oof. It feels really, really nice to play.
I'm just
you got to turn on the lighting.
Yeah, I had it off.
Yeah, so the lighting is cool because the lighting is Aurasync, and I've had a lot of people go like, "What does it matter if it's Aurasync? I'm not going to use like a mouse and keyboard with this thing like setting up." Well, first of all, you can use a mouse and keyboard with it, like we mentioned. But the cool thing about Aurasync in this case, to me, is that we do have some developers that we've partnered with to build Aurasync support into the game. So like Ghost Runner, Dying Light 2, there are a few others. So like the lights will actually react with the game itself. So like when Ghost Runner, every time you die, the lights like flash red. Like you get the kind of like almost like ambient light around your TV or whatever, right? It adds a little bit more of that flavor to the game.
Yeah,
which I like.
You don't have to use in-game effects if you don't want. You can turn it off
or you don't have to use the lighting if you don't want it. If you're not an RGB fan, turn it off.
Yeah. But
I'm an RGB fan though.
Yeah, me too. I like this little profile.
And you can adjust the brightness of the LEDs and all of that, which is cool.
The speed of the animation if you have an animation like mine.
Yep,
lots of tools. But yeah, this is a little bit of the Armory Crate software. We'll get into that a little bit later. I want to continue talking about the actual body of the device. So, like you mentioned, controller layout is the Xbox style, where it's asymmetrical with the joysticks. You've got the D-pad, and then you've got the two macro panels on the back, which can be used.
That is a nice addition.
Yeah,
that's one of those things that like, no manufacturer has to do that. Like that is purely just because someone said like, what would be really nice if we had some paddles. And what would be more awesome is if the paddles could act as shortcut buttons, or you can map them to whatever you want. So by default, these are like kind of like the function key on your laptop. So you can do things like hold one of these buttons and press A, and it'll take a screenshot of your game. And a lot of things. So all the buttons have secondary functions using those paddles. But then in certain games, if you want to, you can map those buttons to in-game functions. So in some games, I actually like to map those back paddles to act as the bumpers, because sometimes my fingers like don't quite reach the bumpers as easily just because my fingers are weird like that. The paddles are your hands are already on them, so you can touch them quicker, which I really like. So you can remap all of the buttons, almost all of the buttons on the device, however you want, and create, add your own secondary functions to them through those macro paddles, which is primo.
One of the default paddle functions, if you hold the left paddle back you just oh, is it gonna not do it for me because I'm in a game? I actually haven't tried it while in a game. It should pull up Control Alt Delete, but it's not doing it.
No. That's not Control Alt Delete. That's the Command Center button.
Oh yeah, you're right. I'm confusing myself. Yes,
Yeah, so if you hold the
down.
Command Center button, you get Control Alt Delete. Makes it really easy to shut down the machine.
Yeah.
And then actually, if you go back, if you hold the Armory Crate button on the right side, that will show you all of your key mappings.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's a really handy function as well.
But you could program these macro
all
pedals
buttons
to do all different kinds of stuff like that, which is great.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
I had
Which
Hades
is
running and
really, really cool.
I didn't and plan on playing Hades during the stream, but it's just like, oh, it's right
But
there.
now it's just happening.
It's just there.
I mean, Hades is like one of the perfect games for this thing, right?
It is.
Because it runs so well. It's a perfect like pick up and play game, right? Like you can sit there and play it for hours and try to beat it, or you can just pick it up, do a quick farming run where you're trying to farm I don't remember what the currency is in that game. It's been too long since I played it.
Yeah.
The purple stuff.
The
and
purple
then
stuff.
we're just gonna call it purple stuff. And then put it down. But of course it can run higher end games like that as well. Like I've been playing a lot of Forza Horizon 5 on mine, and it runs beautifully. 1080p, 60 frames per second with anti-aliasing on, like it's just incredible. Super lightweight too. That's like the other big thing about this that I think a lot of people, so when Jake and I were in New York showing this to media, one thing that everyone said when they picked it up was, it's a lot lighter than I expected. And we mentioned this in the presentation. They said 608 grams, but for a lot of people, I think that's hard to like visualize in their head, right? Like what is 608 grams? I'll just tell you, it's lighter than you think it is. It's lighter than it looks. It's really, really comfortable to hold. And I don't get tired holding it.
I mean, it's significantly lighter than you'd expect. That is for sure. And that was our number one challenge, I think, with building the device. I mean, Sean talked about that, where
for sure.
Really achieving this weight came down to, where can we chisel out a little bit of plastic here and a little bit of plastic there? I mean, every single gram matters. And it's just creates such a comfortable experience. The shape of the the body and the weight itself is just perfect. I can't ask for anything better.
Really, really nice. So to me, the besides the Ryzen Z1 Extreme, which is like the beating heart of this device, right? The other thing that makes the Ally so amazing and puts it above other handhelds that are out there right now is the screen. Okay, so we've got a 7-inch screen here, which is a pretty typical size for a lot of devices like this. And I think it's kind of the perfect size too, by the way. Like, I've been in the market for a handheld for a while, and I'm really glad that I waited. I was actually like, the smaller ones kind of appealed to me, and then after using the Ally, I realized like, no, this is the perfect size. Any smaller and like text starts getting hard to read, right? Stuff like that. Any bigger and it gets too clunky. This is the perfect size. And it's 1080p, so the sharpness is awesome. I mean, we mentioned this in the presentation. It's like the pixel density on this is nuts. You have higher pixel density on this than you do on a 32-inch 4K monitor. Like, what? And I was shocked when I realized that. 100% sRGB coverage, which, by the way, again, some of the other handhelds out there do not have that kind of coverage, and you don't realize how big a difference that makes until you see them side by side. Like the colors on this are so much better, much less washed out than some of the other subpar displays out there. And most importantly, to me, it has FreeSync. Okay, so they showed some performance numbers up there, and when you're dealing with performance that kind of fluctuates or hovers around 60 or just under it, if you have a 60 hertz screen and you're getting like 55 frames per second, it's going to look a little bit stuttery unless you have FreeSync. So you could be running the exact same frame rate on this than you are on another non-FreeSync handheld, and it's going to look so much smoother on this one because it's not doing that thing where it shows one frame twice, and then one frame once, and then another frame twice or whatever. Big upgrade. And I'm really glad that we went through the work to include that.
I think it's one of the most important features in this device for sure. I mean,
I think
it's great to be able to push up to 120 FPS, but FreeSync is really the game changer overall.
It is, for sure. And of course, it's got that sweet Gorilla Glass Victus with the DXC coating, which is nice. You're seeing a little bit. Jake has some very strong studio lights on it, so you're seeing some of that glare now. But in most circumstances, I don't notice any kind of glare coming from other stuff. Jake's lights are just too bright.
Well, yeah. I mean,
your brightness is also all the way down right now, though.
It is,
so the camera can see it.
Right.
So the brightness actually goes up to 500 nits, and then you're gonna get less of that glare and air. It's gonna, when you're in like direct sunlight or something like that, you're not gonna have as many issues because you could pump up the brightness a lot higher. It's just a little bit too bright for the camera exposure.
Looks a little crazy with it maxed out on camera, so I like to bring it down.
I'm pretty impressed about how bright this thing can get.
Yeah,
500 nits is no joke.
Well, we want you to be able to play all your games anywhere, outside by the pool, on the beach, you name it. This is definitely something that you can bring with you.
That is right. Especially with Wi-Fi 6E. You got a good network connection somewhere, you can game online, you can stream games over Xbox Cloud Gaming, things like that. Really cool. And we've talked about this before. A good Wi-Fi chip makes all the difference when you're streaming games.
Let me close Hades.
Oh, yeah, you can just start.
Just
this
launch
thing
a
is...
game.
Yeah,
we'll just launch
streaming
Jedi
a game
Survivor on cloud
is
gaming.
so fast. You don't have to download, right? You don't have to like decide whether like, oh, do I want to like buy this game? Do I want to like waste the time downloading? Like, no, you can just try it out instantly, and then once you're hooked, you can download it and install it right on the Ally.
Sometimes it doesn't want to launch it full screen for some reason. There's like this border at the top. I don't know why it does that. Well,
this is a pre-production unit.
Yeah. Growing pains. But
another thing that I'll mention, this actually doesn't have to do with game streaming, but while we're talking about FreeSync and some of these other AMD technologies, the other big thing for me is that you have FSR and RSR, which to me make a big difference on this device. A lot of games can run really well at 1080p, but I turn on FSR anyway because it kind of adds that anti-aliasing sort of effect where you don't get as much like pixel shimmer and stuff like that, and it can smooth things out really nice using that temporal algorithm. And then even more interesting is RSR, where if you want, if you have a game that's running at 1080p 60, that's great. But if you want higher frame rates and that the frame rate's more important to you than the graphical fidelity, you can turn on RSR at the driver level and upscale any game, not just ones that have FSR built in. You can turn on RSR, it'll render the game at 720, scale it up using that driver level scaling. Wow, you're already playing. And you'll get really even better performance that way. And what's really cool is that you can turn on things like RSR right from the command center. So I think it's time to start showing off some of the software. As fun as it is watching you jump in a puddle.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to show the latency. A lot of people don't believe in cloud gaming because they've had a bad experience with it, because this is something that's come a long way, and I feel like Xbox cloud gaming is far and away ahead of the rest of the pack. But this is actually only Wi-Fi 5E on the 5 gigahertz band, and
you mean Wi-Fi 5?
Yeah,
I don't think my
router always calls it Wi-Fi 5E for some reason. That's what it's labeled as by default. Yeah, I don't know. I know it's confusing because obviously cell networks, but yeah, there's almost no lag. There's like the input delay is negligible. And like, I wouldn't want to play an esport title. I wouldn't want to play an FPS, right? You'd be at a disadvantage.
But a game like this,
but this, it's perfect. Like, I honestly have no complaints. And the thing about playing
you look
a game,
like the worst Jedi ever.
I know, it's fine. I'm just trying to show the button responsiveness.
It's just really fun to watch.
I mean, I have like no abilities on Cal because this is like a clean save.
A good network connection makes all the difference with streaming. So if you tried it and it didn't quite work out for you, like, try it with a device that has a better Wi-Fi chip.
Yeah.
Because I was shocked at how big the difference was just between the two phones that I have. The ROG phone handles streaming so much better than my older phone.
Right.
Because it's got like an actual quality Wi-Fi chip in it.
But yeah, the only thing I want to say with cloud gaming is this is where you can put your device at silent mode and then get crazy battery life, because
great point.
All that processing power is happening elsewhere.
It's not actually rendering the game on the system. So yeah, if you want to seriously increase your battery life, streaming it's just only taking the power to stream a video, which is a lot less. So that's a nice trick. So in Armory Crate, you can kind of customize what we call the command center. Can you show the command center?
Yep. So that's this button on the left. and it's not super easy to read on the camera here. I don't have a direct feed into the
We showed it
device.
off a little bit in the, in
Yeah.
the presentation. We'll have some videos
But,
on YouTube soon as well.
You know, I have my default things to be a quick toggle of the resolution on the device, a quick toggle on the refresh rate of the device. There's even an FPS limiter if you want to just use that, which probably makes more sense to use in most cases anyways. Performance mode, you can just toggle that between silent, performance, and turbo. And then currently we're at performance operating mode. Control mode, there's technically 3 different control modes. That's another thing I have on. I think it's on by default. And yeah, real-time
RSR
monitor
down there in the corner.
RSR is in the corner. Yeah, real-time monitor.
Yeah, you have a real-time monitor, so you can see your FPS and your like GPU usage in real time as you play.
Even shows
which
your
is
battery
handy.
life just like on screen all the time, which is not something that's there by default. I mean, you can just hop into Armory Crate and check your device's battery, and you can just jump into other things to check your device's battery. Right? It's Windows, so you know you can kind of just go to Windows by swiping up at the bottom. It'll give you the taskbar.
So what's cool about that command center is that you can go into Armory Crate and you can customize it, right? So I rarely ever change the resolution or refresh rate of my device. So I can remove those and I can add in other stuff. Like I believe you can have a thing where you start a screen recording or something like that, right? You have some other options. The LED brightness you can change on the fly. That kind of stuff I think is really useful to have in there so I can pop
Take a
in and out the
screenshot,
things that I do and don't use.
You know,
Yep.
airplane mode, a quick toggle for that. If you're going to be traveling a lot, you want to use airplane mode a lot. Yeah, all of that's at your fingertips. It's really great.
Yep. And so the FPS limiter is actually really useful. It's funny. I think a lot of people are going to use that because some people, you can use it to save battery life if you want. If you're playing something that can run it, you know, like I could play Dead Cells at 120 FPS. But if I'm sitting down and I know that I need battery, like I'm waiting at the DMV and I could be there all day, like I'll put on a frame limiter to 60, right, and try to save some battery life. The other thing is that I know a lot of people. This is weird, and I'm not one of these people, but if you are one of these people, I don't judge you too much. Some people prefer a stable 30 frames per second over like 45 that fluctuates. I disagree very strongly with those people.
But hey, they've got the option.
If that's something if you want to crank up the visuals in a game and drop it below 60, and then turn on the frame limiter so it's a stable 30 frames per second with like more high quality visuals, you can do that.
We've even got the 15 FPS option for the true savages out there. Why that option exists is beyond me, but that's okay.
You know, for people who want that really old school experience,
the pain and suffering,
like I don't want to name devices, but there have been devices and game consoles that had games that ran at like 15 frames per second. Like we were there. We remember. Remember.
No, I don't remember. I deleted that from my brain because that's torture.
But yeah, so that's the other cool thing about Armory Crate here. You mentioned performance modes. If you go back into Armory Crate, you can kind of show your list of games. So obviously we talked about how Armory Crate shows your entire game library, but what I like about this is that you can highlight a game and press X to alter the game's profile. So that allows you to not only remap specific keys for that game, right? But you can also do things like give it a default operating mode. So I want Forza Horizon 5 to run in turbo mode, right? Because that's a graphically intense AAA game. But then when I'm playing Hades, maybe I want that to run in silent mode automatically. And so I can adjust that in the game profile, and then I don't have to open Command Center to flip it when I launch a new game. It will just do it automatically. That's really awesome.
Yeah, and you can build all these
and it allows you to really customize. Yeah, exactly. Every time you launch a new game, it'll ask you what template you want to start with. Right, so you can start with like your global gamepad settings, or you can be like, you know what, I want the exact same controls in God of War that I have in Spider-Man. So Kratos can swing from tree to tree. No, it's more like if you want the same dead zones on your sticks and triggers and things like that in one game that you have in another, you could kind of use that as a starting point for your game profile.
And just in case like anybody out there is like worried thinking that this is something that you have to do, no. I actually have not played with this at all because I just launch the game and it plays the game. It maps, all the bindings are there. It's Windows, right? So it's just treating it like an Xbox controller. Everything is ready to go for you. So I just wanted to make sure that I was.
Yeah. You don't have to go in and map things manually. Like,
Yeah,
it'll just work out of the box, and it basically recognizes it as a traditional controller.
Yep.
Which is also cool. And then, of course, when you're on the desktop, you can use the sticks to move the mouse around and click around like the Windows desktop, which is also nice for when you're installing games or changing Windows settings.
I'm currently in gamepad mode, so it doesn't want to use it as a mouse. There's.
Oh, okay. By default, it's in auto mode, and it'll switch back and forth as it like sees fit.
Yeah, there we go.
You can also use the touchscreen in Windows, which is really nice because Windows obviously has been, Microsoft has been making touch devices and pushing touch devices for a long time. And so they've built in a lot of really good touch functionality into Windows already. We didn't have to do anything special to make the Ally run with Windows with a touchscreen. Like, it's all just there.
I think that's one of the things I'm most excited about is seeing this continue to evolve. I mean, this device is already like so phenomenal, but this is the first Windows device, and I think that the ecosystem will just.
It's our first Windows device.
It's it's the first Windows handheld device, right?
There are others.
No, there aren't. They're not even worth considering.
Yes. So that's the thing. This is like, to me, one of the biggest kickers, right? We have all of this stuff we just talked about that makes this the best handheld on the market, like, hands down. But as if all that weren't enough, this is a device that you can actually go to Best Buy, pay, you give them money, and they give you the box, right?
Yeah.
Like right there in the store. You walk home, you start playing it. You have a company with an office in the US or Europe or wherever you live that offers support. It's not like some of these other handhelds where you're like have to do a Kickstarter and then wait like 6 months for them to ship it to you, and then dealing with it is like kind of like, no, just go to Best Buy. By the way, you can actually go to bestbuy.com right now and pre-order it. You're seeing links in the chat, hopefully, if our bot is working. And yeah, pre-order it because it's coming. Get it now while you can.
Now, these are going to actually have demo units at Best Buy as well. So if this is something that you just want to go and check out and try, you're like, most of the way there.
Your hands first.
Yeah, you really want to feel that weight. You really want to feel the shape of it. That's the other beauty of having it in physical locations like that.
Yep. And of course, when we talk Best Buy, we're talking about US and Canada. You can also buy it on the ASUS shop, and in other countries, more to come soon, I think. So again, this is a global show, so we don't have information on every single country here, but the Ally is launching globally and hopefully coming to a store near you.
It'll be on shelves in about a month. $5.99 and $6.99 for the two versions. You can pre-order now.
It's a good price.
Ally in chat. It's a great price. Let us know what you guys think.
Yeah, and again, come back next week. We'll be doing a Q&A. You can ask questions live, but I recommend joining our Discord. Type !Discord in chat to see it. If you ask your questions in the Discord thread that we will be creating, it gives us a little bit more time, especially for the really technical questions, to go to the engineers and ask them if it's something that we can find out. We know a lot of stuff about the Ally, but if you're asking really, really specific questions, we might have to go find the answer for you. And we may not have an answer for everything out of the gate, but hopefully we'll be able to answer a lot of the questions that I know you guys have had for weeks and weeks and weeks. And
we will be streaming with the Ally here on Twitch before the official launch. So if you want to see some actual real life performance, these are the pre-units. We're really
can't stream with the pre-production units, but the real production units we'll hopefully have very soon to stream with.
So fingers crossed, but we should have it. I'm confident.
Yeah, and then you guys can really see it in action. I'm excited. We'll also have a ton of guides going up on the ROG website. So if you want to know more about how to remap buttons, how to get the best battery life out of your device, we're going to be publishing, I think, some optimized game settings, right? So if you have a game that you want to play and you want to know the best settings for that balance of graphical fidelity performance, we'll be having that information for you guys on the site as well. So definitely head over to rog.asus.com and check that out.
Lots of good stuff coming. The Ally's here soon. Thanks for everyone for tuning in to our Ally launch event today. GG's, and we'll see you next time.